In April of 2014, I made a post on an anonymous message board. I asked people to imagine a yandere simulator and describe what it would be like. I suggested a very simple premise. Pick a boy, stalk him, and kill any girl who expresses interest in him. I proposed a stealth game about avoiding detection, setting up accidents, and hiding the fact that you're a jealous and murderous psychopath. Hundreds of people responded to my post, expressing interest in the game. Dozens of people pitched ideas, such as a corkboard that you could decorate with pictures of your loved one, wearing different panties for buffs, and stealing things from the boy to build a shrine to him. After several hours of discussion, a game was thoroughly designed. The overall gameplay would be similar to the Hitman series, but instead of eliminating each target in a different environment, the game would take place in one environment, with new targets appearing at school over a period of 10 weeks. Because tons of people expressed enthusiasm for the idea of a yandere simulator game, I decided to make it become a reality. I intended to make a simple game that could be developed by one man working alone. I expected the game to be finished by December 2014. As I worked on the game, I received lots of cool suggestions and began expanding the scope of the game. The game evolved from something that one man could create in 8 months to something that required a team of people. With each passing month, the game's design became even more complex. I eventually realized that Yandere Simulator would not be able to meet people's expectations without a team of professionals creating top-quality assets for the game. In order to raise the money necessary to hire professionals, I plan to launch a crowdfunding campaign using a service such as Kickstarter. I know that a lot of people have been disappointed by crowdfunded games and believe that crowdfunding is a scam. I don't want to be interpreted as a scam artist, so I've decided that I should not launch a Kickstarter campaign until Yandere Simulator is as far into development as it can possibly go without a budget. I've written out the criteria that I feel Yandere Simulator should meet before I'd be willing to launch a crowdfunding campaign. Here's the list. 15 different elimination methods, all club buffs functional, all panty buffs functional, all school subject buffs functional, all characters designed and illustrated, all school locations implemented, stealth attacks, an intro cutscene, senpai customization, protagonist customization, background music for all environments, the ability to affect the atmosphere of the school, sound effects for everything that should make a sound, a guidance counselor who will punish you for misbehaving, killing animations that change based on your current level of sanity, a rival girl who interacts with senpai multiple times throughout the week, a cutscene where the rival confesses her love to senpai, NPCs that follow a proper Japanese school schedule, NPCs that behave differently depending on the atmosphere of the school, NPCs that react properly to corpses, blood, weapons, dismembered limbs, screams, etc., the ability to interact with NPCs in a variety of ways, at least 5 different personality types for NPCs, and snap mode. So, which of these criteria have we met? Currently, 8 out of 15 elimination methods are implemented. Poison, stabbing, drowning, kidnapping, fake suicide, staged accident, ruined reputation, and driving to suicide. However, there are still several elimination methods that are planned but have not been implemented yet. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks to implement an elimination method. Sometimes it takes 4 weeks. Because I have 7 elimination methods remaining, it could take me anywhere between 3 months to 6 months to finish implementing all remaining elimination methods. At this point in time, I'm almost halfway finished implementing all of the remaining Kickstarter criteria. Some of these things could take a few days to implement, and some of them could take anywhere from 2 weeks to a full month to implement. Some of them can't be implemented until I receive certain animations or models from volunteers. If I had all of the necessary animations and models, then I would estimate that it would take about this long to meet my criteria for a Kickstarter campaign. If I add up all of those numbers, then I get 172 days, or about 6 months. So, if it takes me 6 months to implement all of the remaining elimination methods, and 6 months to implement all of the remaining Kickstarter criteria, then the Kickstarter would be ready about 12 months from now, in January 2017. If the Kickstarter is successful, then I would need to implement all rivals, all endings, a tutorial, other gameplay modes, and some secrets and surprises that I've been planning. There are also a lot of people who are expecting language options, a small town, and, of course, a game that isn't completely buggy when it's released. All of those things combined could take around 24 months to complete, which means that the full game wouldn't be released until 2 years after the Kickstarter. If the Kickstarter is released 1 year from now, that means that the full version of Yandere Simulator won't be finished until 2019, 3 years from now. There are a lot of people who might be disappointed to hear that they have to wait so long to play the finished version of Yandere Simulator. I can think of several potential solutions that might speed up the game's development. Number 1, drastically reduce the scope of the game so that it's something that can be completed by one man within the next 12 months. Number 2, hand the game over to a company that can complete the game faster than one dude and some volunteers. Number 3, launch the Kickstarter much sooner than originally planned, before it has met my personal criteria, and use the money to hire a veteran programmer, or a team of veteran programmers, who can develop Yandere Simulator much faster than I could. The problem isn't that I'm a slow programmer. The problem is that I have to spend the majority of my time working with animators, artists, modelers, musicians, voice actors, and many others, which leaves me with very little time to actually write code for the game. If I wasn't responsible for programming the game, then I wouldn't have to split my time between writing code and everything else. Unfortunately, there are flaws with all of these ideas. Reducing the scope of the game would be disappointing to everyone who has been anticipating all of the cool features that I've been talking about for the past 20 months. If Yandere Simulator was taken out of my hands and given to a company, they might remove a lot of content, refuse to implement certain features that are planned for the game, or take the game in a direction that you wouldn't enjoy. I feel like the Kickstarter has a higher chance of succeeding if I'm able to show off lots of features. If I launch the Kickstarter now, I'll have to try and pitch the game using only the currently existing features. The current build of the game does not accurately create the experience that the final game is supposed to provide, which is why I feel like it would be wrong to try and convince people to fund Yandere Simulator with the game in its current state. On my blog, and in the description of this video, I'm going to link to a poll. I'd like to know which of these options you would prefer: reducing the scope of the game, giving Yandere Simulator to a company that can finish it faster than me, or launching the Kickstarter far ahead of schedule. On the bright side, perhaps my estimations are way off. Perhaps the game will meet my personal criteria for Kickstarter much sooner than I've predicted. Perhaps implementing the post-Kickstarter features won't take as long as I've estimated. Perhaps the only reason that previous features took so long to implement is because I had to lay the groundwork for the game's core mechanics. Now that the groundwork is laid down, perhaps it will be much easier to implement new features in the future. I suppose there's no way to know for sure without a magical crystal ball that can see the future. For now, all I can do is continue working as hard as I can. Thank you for following the development of Yandere Simulator. I hope that I don't let you down.